Good morning and welcome to Daily Confetti on Unsafe Space with Carter and Keri. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, and the rain just started pouring down in buckets right outside my window.
Well, that's better than the situation I'm in at the moment, Keri.
Yes, Carter is reporting to us remotely from a Pete's parking lot in his car.
Live from a Pete's parking lot. I feel like I live in a third world country. This in the past 3 weeks we've had the water be gone for like half a day, the electricity be out for half a day, and now Comcast is gone for a half a day. So we had to drive around, and I'm hijacking Pete's wireless from the parking lot.
Well, and I don't know if you can hear it, but now there's a loud noise coming from my end because the rain is happening, but there's also some tree trimmers out there. I don't know what they're doing, but they're making a lot of noise now.
Nice. So, hey, you know what, Keri? You just gotta slog through. So maybe this will be a short kofefi, but
This would be a short
we're doing it anyway. So, it's 9/11, and I kind of felt like we should talk about 9/11, Keri.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, obviously we can mourn the loss of the people and that's important. But I want to talk about conspiracy theories because I've been one of those people who in the past dismissed conspiracy theories just dismissed them out of hand. For a couple reasons. One is I thought they were always implausible. It's the reason I want to talk about conspiracy theories. Let me back up. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around 9/11. I'm not pushing any conspiracy theories around 9/11. I don't really know what happened, but I do think the official narrative is a little bit wonky. It seems weird. But I want to talk about conspiracy theories generally because, so in the past I dismissed them for two reasons. One, I felt like they were implausible. I worked briefly for a defense contractor out of college, and just the level of incompetence in government agencies and people, even contractors related to governments or working with governments, was so high that I kind of figured like, really, there's this massive coordination that like there's no leaks or like everyone's coordinating some big lie to us. It just didn't make any sense. Most conspiracy theories that way just didn't make practical sense. And I also kind of felt, as an anarchist, it's kind of beside the point because I think the government has done enough that's visible that we know about that's bad, like starting wars in Iraq or Vietnam or, Japanese internment camps or weird MK Ultra stuff that we know actually happened. So there's enough stuff that's ridiculous or egregious, I guess is a better word. There's enough atrocities that we know the government has committed that if they're committing some other ones secretly, I was always kind of like, why are you wasting your time on this? Who cares? Right? It's not who cares, but like, okay. But I've kind of changed my mind on that a little bit. And, as we've been exploring mainstream media and how narratives get pushed, I'm realizing that it's actually not that implausible that something happens, an official narrative gets pushed out, you've got very few media people or media agencies or outlets kind of controlling the narrative, or you have in the past. And as long as they're kind of on board, and they don't even really have to know that they're pushing a lie, they just have to be the kind of people who will believe your narrative. Like, you give them an official narrative and they believe it, and then you implement this campaign of like dismissing questions and calling people ridiculous and idiots and stupid and vilifying anyone who asks questions. You end up with a culture where there's like there's not social pressure even from other media outlets to really ask questions, and so maybe it's not implausible. What do you think?
I don't think a conspiracy has to be something where every single person is knowledgeable about every single lie and is keeping it a secret.
Or even that they are spreading lies, right? It could just be, remember in Hoaxed, Cernovich was interviewing, I forget that guy who was the 60 Minutes dude, and the 60 Minutes dude was challenging Cernovich for asking questions about Hillary's health, and Cernovich, and he was saying to Cernovich, well, she just had pneumonia, and Cernovich said, well, how do you know she just had pneumonia? And the guy was like, well, we asked her campaign, and that's what she said. And Cernovich said, well, how do you know the campaign's lying? Like, did you verify that? And there was like no. The guy just kind of fumbled and had no answer. Like, oh, I'm supposed to question. The man told me. And if that's the kind of media that you've got, uh, maybe it's pretty easy to just push a narrative, and when stuff comes out that is runs contrary to that narrative, you just call people crazy conspiracy theorists and laugh at them and ridicule them and mock them, and then everyone else is really afraid to ask basic questions.
I agree.
You seem like the kind of person to me, since I know that you have a folder full of shooter manifestos, you seem like the kind of person to me who's up on conspiracy theories.
Not really. No, I mean, I did a lot of. I went down a Pizzagate rabbit hole. I mean, that's one of the conspiracy theories that I did look into, and that one is very interesting. And that's one that people just laugh out of hand without having actually read any of the stuff related to it. I don't. There's large parts of that conspiracy theory that I don't think hold any merit whatsoever, and that are ridiculous. But there are also things about it that I have questions about, and that the mainstream media should have asked questions about, and they didn't. And because they don't ask questions about it, and um, they don't shed a light on some of the concerning things, then you open up this space for people to make outlandish claims, and because the only people talking about it then are conspiracy theorists. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
So
right. And you do have, as we've had more access to information over the internet, we have started to realize that we have been lied to in the past. I mean, the yellow cake lie about the mainstream media, the lie about the Iraqi soldiers throwing babies on the floor, babies in an
oh,
orphanage on the floor.
totally. Well, the
All
yellow
that was
cake lie we
lies.
knew was a lie when they were telling it. It was like, wait a minute, we know this is a lie. There's former CIA people saying this is a lie, and we still, as a nation, allowed it to happen. Um, the what was it? Trump just, or not just, but he released at some point in the past year these files related to Kennedy's assassination. And one of the files was talking about how the CIA had been planning this bomb in Miami that they could blame on Castro. I mean, they were going to bomb American citizens and then just say, so that, they had a reason why they were doing this, but it's like, I don't know why anybody trusts the government or the media to tell them the truth.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't want to push any particular 9/11 conspiracy theories, but I do think you shouldn't be vilified and mocked and ridiculed for asking basic questions. And the truth is about 9/11, there are some questions that kind of aren't answered satisfactorily to me anyway. Um, there's the weird free fall of the buildings. There's the fall of Tower 7, which makes no sense. There's supposedly nanothermite residue in the rubble, which is weird. It's a demolition explosive. And the truth is, there actually were people questioning this. I looked at, I don't know if you know Ron Unz. I didn't know about him, but someone sent me this.
You should know I don't know anything about the 9/11 conspiracy theories.
I didn't either, and I'm not pushing anyone, but there's a bunch of questions, and I read this really interesting article by Ron Unz, which I didn't know who he was. I still don't really know too much about him, but the article was interesting. And in this article, he talks about former senior analyst at the CIA, William Christensen, totally questioned the 9/11 official narrative. There's a lot of technical experts, chemical experts, demolition experts questioned a lot of the 9/11 narrative. Firefighters claim they heard explosions, like dozens of firefighters claim they heard explosions in the buildings. Alan Sabrowski, here I'll read this. Let's see. Dr. Alan Sabrowski, former director of studies at the U.S. Army War College, stepped forward and publicly declared that the Israeli Mossad had very likely been responsible for the 9/11 attacks. General Wesley Clark reported soon after 9/11 attacks that he was informed that a secret military plan had somehow come into being under which America would attack and destroy 7 major Muslim countries over the next few years, including Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Libya, which coincidentally were all of Israel's strongest regional adversaries and the leading supporters of the Palestinians. So, and there's this kind of weird thing where another thing that they do is if you ask questions, they just start throwing racist and bigot things towards you if the question's like, well, was the Mossad involved? Was Israel involved? And asking questions about whether a foreign entity was involved is not anti-Semitic, right? It's not like, hey, what about those bad Jews? That's not what that means. It means, hey, there's a foreign power with very real interests here. Mossad and their ilk have had a history of doing false flag operations in the past. I think there was the 1946 bombing of the King David Hotel was blamed on Arabs, which was, I think, actually Zionists. The Levant affair in 1954, where they had a bunch of targets in Egypt and they were trying to pin it on anti-Western Arabs. And if you just step back and you zoom back and you look at this and you go, well, of all the countries in the world, this is this guy's point, of all the countries in the world, who benefited from 9/11? Certainly not America. Certainly, you might argue that if you're a weird deep state conspiracy theorist, you might argue that like the NSA benefited because now there's the Patriot Act and whatever. But the U.S. didn't really benefit. No countries in the Middle East really benefited. But Israel did. We went out to war with lots of their enemies, and I don't know. I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying these are legitimate questions. This is a legitimate thing to look at, and a lot of people have trouble with the 9/11 report as officially the commission's official report and the official narrative. And if these things are wrong, if all this stuff I'm saying is stupid conspiracy theory stuff, shouldn't we investigate and put to bed that it's conspiracy theory stuff, not call people anti-Semitic who are wondering if, like, hey, was the Mossad involved? Because there was like 200 arrests immediately after 9/11 of Mossad agents in a lot of the cities that the hijackers were in, and they clearly benefited. Israel clearly, just zoom out, they benefited from 9/11 more than any other country. It's a legitimate question to ask, and some of the technical details, which I'm not super familiar with, are also legitimate. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but I think we should make more room. I guess my point, Keri, I think we should make more room for asking questions that would be labeled conspiracy theory questions. Not saying like this is what happened or I know these people did this, but just asking basic questions and being willing to explore those questions, not dismissing them out of hand as like crazy or anti-Semitic or whatever it is. That's not what... As we lose faith in the media, we should really question what we're being told. And it's pretty clear that we're seeing more and more how full of crap the mainstream media is on every level. So why trust them on this? Am I sounding like Alex Jones?
You do.
Well, I should yell about gay frogs then.
I just, after this, I'm like, oh gosh.
It's a reasonable person would ask these questions.
Don't become a flat earther, Carter.
No.
I'm kidding.
And I'm not. Look, I think these are reasonable questions, and what's scarier is not the questions, but the fact that you're not allowed to ask them. That's what bothers me.
It's just too much. I don't have time to look into all that stuff. So I guess it sounds blasé, but I don't care.
No, I think a lot of people are like that. I don't have time to look into it, and I haven't had time to look into it. And part of me doesn't care because I do already look at this and go, well, like I said earlier, the government does all these things that we know are atrocities. So if they helped cover up...
Yeah, either way, all these people died, and it was horrible, and it doesn't really matter to me if
Right.
I'm not a person who... This is not my thing. I'm not going to sit and devote hours to this, or days to this, or weeks, or years, or whatever. And so...
I'm not either, which is why I don't know a lot about these details. But I do think it's important to remind people that the narratives that are being pushed, we know a lot of low-level narratives that are being pushed are totally false, and they get pushed and they get accepted until they get proven wrong, even as something as simple as the Covington kids. And so, and we're already seeing that the FBI, maybe not as trustworthy as everyone thought they were in the past, and the deep state's behavior with respect to this Trump-Russia stuff, So you have to sit back and ask yourself, like, is it crazy to be asking these questions? And I think the answer is no. And does it matter? Like, I think you and I are kind of in agreement in that in some sense it doesn't matter. In another sense, I don't know, this is, I think we need to lose a lot of, we have too much trust placed in our government institutions. And if this is what gets people to question them, maybe they should.
Okay.
Obviously 9/11 was a horrible tragedy, and I don't think talking about this and asking questions is, I think some people will think that that's disrespectful to the victims, and I don't think it is. They were victims, and it was a tragedy, but asking basic questions about it. It's 18 years later, Keri. I mean, there's now kids starting today. There's kids who were not born when 9/11 happened who are now adults. Uh, I don't know. I guess it's just going to go down in history as one of these things that the official narrative is what it is, but I think it's important to question. I'm getting more, maybe I'm becoming more Alex Jonesy. I'm curious what the audience thinks, because I don't want to be a weird conspiracy theorist, but I also don't want to be told I can't ask questions or be called a crazy person for saying, like, yeah, gee, why did Tower 7 fall? That seems like a legitimate question.
Everyone's a conspiracy theorist about something.
That's a good point. All of CNN is Russia 24 hours a day, so.
Yeah. It's just that, yeah, it's just that officially, or not officially, but in the mainstream, the media narrative, certain types of conspiracy theories are fine and others are not.
It really reminds me, we're reading 1984 now, Keri, and it really reminds me of, in the beginning where Winston is like, Oceania's at war with East Asia. We've always been, or no, Eurasia. We've always been at war with Eurasia. And we've always been friendly with East Asia. Like, that's always the way it's been. But before that, we were always at war with East Asia and always friends with Eurasia. It's like, I kind of look back and he asks himself this question in the book of, like, well, what's true if only my memory exists and there's no, like, everything else is falsified? Like, what's true at that point? And, like, how will anyone ever know? History books will go, like, the history will be what they say it is. And obviously that's part of his job.
Oh, it's always been that way. What is it? History's told by the victors or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It just, I don't know. It really got me thinking about this. And I think the truth is, the most comfortable thing I'm willing to say about 9/11 is, I believe it happened, and I don't really know how, and I don't really know who was involved, but I'm pretty sure I don't like the official narrative. And that's about it. And maybe it's just I don't like the official narrative because they didn't do a good enough job explaining, but partly because they just dismiss things. And I don't think it's disrespectful to ask those questions. But I'd be curious what other people. I'm actually curious about the comments in this video because I feel like everyone thinks it and no one says it because they're afraid of being called, you know, Alex Jones crazy conspiracy theorist, who, by the way, turned out to be right about fluoride in the water. So let's just leave that leave that where it is. Are there conspiracy theories that you do know, like that you are into?
Well, I mean the Pizzagate one.
What about that was that's dismissed out of
I mean,
hand? What's real about the Pizzagate one?
I'd have to go back and brush up on it, but there were there were very weird things in Podesta's emails that did mention stuff about pizza and cheese, and supposedly that these are code words that pedophiles use, and like one email in particular was like, I'd like to something like I'd like to have 30 minutes with a pizza, please. Like,
Yeah,
who has 30 minutes with a pizza?
yeah.
Like you're ordering an amount of time with this pizza.
I do remember those emails, and it definitely looks like code words for. It's definitely code words for something. No one talks like that.
Well, it could be. Yeah, it seemed very strange. There were just like a lot of strange things like that in the emails, and I do believe. I mean, Andrew Breitbart before he died, which also under suspicious circumstances, and then the coroner who did the report on him died. uh, Breitbart had tweeted something. This was years ago, before he died, about Podesta being a pedophile.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
And I think, and his brother. I mean, it's all this circumstantial stuff, but it is, like I said, there's creepy stuff there. There's actually a news report about it. There was one local news channel that did a report about why isn't the media and why aren't police looking into this. And that was kind of compelling for me. But yeah, Podesta's brother has all this really. I know artist is in the eye of the beholder, and it's completely subjective, but he has this really, what to me, disturbing pedophilic kind of artwork all throughout his house.
I just think it's good that people are starting to wake up and question the uh, sanity and moral character of the people that are running the country. Because I think in most cases, it's like this whole Epstein thing. That was the tip of the iceberg. We may never know how deep it went, right?
Oh, it's the tip of the iceberg. Well, I mean, I guess that's a conspiracy theory. Do I think he suicided himself? No. I mean, possibly, but not without help. They wanted him dead. But two cameras malfunctioned. Give me a break. And I think a lot of these powerful people, I don't think I realized until recently how much pedophilia is rampant among elites. And there's there's almost an understandable reason for that. A couple of reasons, I guess, but when you have so much power and money, and I think it's easier to tilt towards hedonism and nihilism and evil, outright evil. And also, I think because if you're going to have blackmail material on other people, um, being gay is no longer considered taboo socially. That's not enough. Or even
Or
someone
an affair.
having an affair,
Right.
right? But what's the ultimate thing that you could hold over someone's head? What's the ultimate evil?
And we've talked about this before as just maybe being like it's not that people in power turn into pedophiles. It's that pedophiles rise to power precisely because they're blackmailable, right? That's why they're supported, because people have blackmail on them, and powerful people don't want people in charge who they can't blackmail.
They can't blackmail. Yeah.
And that's, I guess, another conspiracy sounding thing. But so often we read decades later that these things were true, or part of them was true, or whatever. And I think part of waking up and red pilling is realizing that the narrative that you're told about everything is not you can't if you can't trust it about anything, about one particular thing, you probably can't trust it about anything.
About a lot of things. Well, a lot of the shady deaths. I guess that would be another conspiracy. So
Yeah.
Epstein's death, Seth Rich's death.
Oh, Seth Rich is another one.
Yeah.
Supposedly robbed, like all his money and watch left there, but
yeah, they didn't take any of his money or his watch or anything. And that one. What was the other one? There's another one. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Vince Foster was the classic Clinton one, right? Shot in the back of the head with carpet fibers on his body and dumped in a park. Suicide. Right?
Suicide.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just smiling because I'm thinking, this whole video is going to be used as evidence of why you shouldn't listen to us.
I mean, if you don't want to ask basic questions, don't listen to us. But you know what? We've already been called Nazis, so what? Calling us so what? I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like, that's not worse. So, whatever. I'm not even pushing a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, ask questions. There's some weird shit going on, and don't trust the official narrative.
Yeah.
So, but you're right, Keri. This will be a good evidential video for our insanity later. It'll be used in red flag laws to take our guns away because we're crazy.
Yeah. Well, good luck with your power, Carter. I hope you get it working.
Thank you. It's the internet, but yeah.
The internet. It was your power last time.
Someday I will move to a first world country, and I won't live in the Bay Area of California, where apparently we don't have basic services.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I'm a little under the weather today myself, so I'm a little like, cool.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, liking, subscribing. please go ahead and you can go to Subscribestar and support us financially, or you can just like and share the videos. We really appreciate it. Sorry for the tech difficulties today, but we slogged through it, we powered through it, and we're here anyway. So
And
we'll
we're
see
doing
you all
book club
tomorrow.
on Sunday.
Oh yes, book club on Sunday. Finish reading 1984, and we'll talk about it on Sunday. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, Carter.